Okay, not sure which one's recording which, but this is the Alpex Pro and the Alpex 4K. The Pro I've just picked up today, the 4K I've had for, well, over a year or so. This is, well, the time is correct on the 4K. I haven't set the Alpex Pro yet, so it's 10 to 8 at night on April 17th, and I'm looking out over some fields from a window. I can see the hedge line. There's some cars going by. I can see that hedge line as a black line and the field just about, but I can't really see any detail. So there's no IR being used on either of these. Well, they're both pointing at exactly the same time, and as you can see, they move together. Let's see how far that is. 312 yards. Let's see what this makes it. It's pointing in a slightly different place, I suspect. 311. That was interesting. Let's do that again. The Pro seems to be flashing twice, whereas the 4K gives a single slower speed flash. Oh, very interesting actually. As you can see, the LRF on the 4K has given a drop of 400, nearly 400 inches, and the aim point is now right down by the angle indicator. That's because this is set up for 20 foot-pound Hades in an air rifle, whereas the Pro hasn't been set up at all really. It's got some numbers in it for a centre fire. Now, I seem to have pressed the button. The interesting thing, which I wanted to see, is, and nobody seems to be mentioning, is the windage function in this system. As you can see, it's compensated 12-inch drop from 100 yards out to 300 yards and moved the LRF reticle down, but I've set this up with 10 mile an hour wind from the right. So it's actually saying you want 8.2 inches of windage, and it's actually moved the LRF with it. Now that is something I've been asking Hick to do for a long time. You can see a little bird flying along there. Now one is on 3.5 mag and the other is on 4. Okay, back to the windage. Now that's pretty good. It gives you a windage call. But it's fixed, and you can only put it in the ballistic calculator system for the bullet, so it's not easy to change. It's not something you're going to change on the fly in the field. Maybe if you sit down and calculate it, you can put it in and change it slightly. I don't know whether you can access it more easily in the app. I'll have a look. But that gives you a full, that means the Alpex Pro gives you a full firing solution, including wind. So that is how much wind you need on whatever the setting they have. It's probably something like a 308, I guess, at 2,900 feet per second or something like that, at 300 yards with a 10 mile an hour right to left wind. So that's very interesting. Let's have a look. How far are we? Let's go up here. Okay, so I'm guessing that's just above the range. Come back to here a minute. $305, 700, 700, 800. Ooh, it's just picking up that pole. 800. That's over 1,000 yards. So let's try the 1,039. So that one's picking up that just over 1,000 yards. Now they say the Pro should do 1,200 yards. Well, there's 1,100. Right, so the Alpex 4K won't do 1,100, which is fair enough. It goes slightly over 1,000. And obviously those cows or whatever is up there are way too far away. That's all very well, but as you can see, the size of the splash is huge. Okay, it's not picking up in the open field, it's not bouncing back, so the hedgerow is fine. But that's hitting a very wide area for the laser, so it's not going to, although it'll give you a range, it's not going to be super accurate, but it will give you an idea. You shouldn't really be shooting that far anyway. But as you can see, the laser range finding is moving the aim point down and also putting on more windage as you go out for your 10 mile an hour wind. So we will be aiming over here. So yeah, still no LR, still no infrared. Farm buildings there. I don't know what range they are. They are out of range. As you can see, I've also got both. I've got activated the angled range, which you can turn on or off. It doesn't, whether you turn it on or off doesn't affect the calculation for the ballistics. It just tells you what the direct straight line is and the angled straight line, which is what you need. Right, so they're 900 yards away. 931, 930, so they're pretty close together. And again, we're on the minimum mag for both of these. So if we zoom in, let's see if we can get any. So this is the side focus, which is a lot easier to use. And with no infrared, we're not going to get much resolution on there, but we can zoom back out. And there's still plenty of detail there. I mean, you're not going to be shooting much at 900 yards, I don't think. But it's handy to see it. So let's zoom back in again. Now the Pro only goes up to 24, whereas the old 4K goes up to 28, a little bit more. But actually I've got one eye on each of these scopes, and if I have both eyes open like a binocular, they don't really look like there is actually any difference in the view that I can see. And that may be because of the bigger screen in the Pro, just making it compensating for that extra 4 times magnification. But to me, at maximum mag, it looks the same. And again, at minimum mag 3.5 and 4, it doesn't look much different, to be honest. As you can see on the reticules, again, I haven't set anything up particularly in the Pro. I've had a few plays. Like I said, I've put some windage in just to see what happens. My Alpex 4K is set up with the reticule I prefer. Because I only use the laser range finding reticule, I've grayed and dulled out the main crosshair because that is of no use for shooting. I like to see roughly where vertical is, up and down. And that will be even more useful when the windage on the Alpex Pro, when the windage is on. It's set on all my rifles so the bullet never goes above the crosshair, so I'm not worried about a vertical line above. You can also see on the Pro that we've got a different colour laser rangefinding box. Something's moving down that hedgerow maybe. which I've set to yellow. On the Pro you can actually choose 3 different styles of laser rangefinding box. One is the square, same, there's a circle, and then there's a dot, and you've got a couple of 3 colours you can choose. The yellow I've set to match the LRF, which is my favourite reticule on that. So as I say, it's now 8 o'clock ish, and again that's 4,000 yards with absolutely no infrared added in. I'd say the minimum mag, the 4K, has definitely got a bit more brightness. Just focusing and unfocusing, go through and try and find the middle of the clear bit. Again, sometimes it's easier. Higher mag is something you get used to. Okay, we've got some rabbits coming out now. And again, on this picture, the 4K is I would say definitely has the advantage on the That's a rabbit. You can see how big the splash is. That's 300 yards on a rabbit. .300 yards. Let's bring it up to a similar zoom. Right, they're both on 14 now. Again, the Alpex at 14 mag definitely has a slightly brighter picture, fractionally less pixelated, so now there are a couple of settings in here with WDR and all that sort of thing that I don't know if they're set the best way for this, but at the moment I would say the 4K still has the advantage at this range, only 300 yards. Okay, I might not shoot rabbits at this range, but deer out to this range, a definite possibility. To be fair, I wouldn't be upset with either of those, but yeah, next to each other, definitely the 4K has the advantage on light gathering. So look, brightness is 5, contrast is 5, it's on auto. Manual 5, auto. Auto brightness. Interesting. So you can definitely bring the brightness up. It doesn't really bring the clarity up, I don't think, so let's just leave it on 5. There we go. So that's just a quick look through. As I say, we've gone out to the 1,000, 1,200 yards that they both see. We can see much further than that. It is a little difficult getting the focuses exact on either and when they're both mounted together, but we're not far off. As I say, I think on clarity of picture at the moment, the 4K still just has it. Okay, this is my infrared. You'll have to excuse me, this is quite an old model I made about 10-12 years ago. So this is an 850 IR. It's what was called a Sun Ranger. It's got a Yukon ×3 head mounted on a Chinese torch. So let's see what happens when we zoom in now. You can definitely get more clarity. Like I say, this is a an older torch. There's those rabbits. A bit of eye shine on the Alpex 4K. And there we are. Again, they're quite sensitive to focus. So 350 yards of that rabbit. Again with this. $369, that's better. Still give it to the Alpex 4K, to be honest, which is a bit of a disappointment, but I think that's where the mistake of making the lens on the front a bit smaller is. Let's zoom out again. Okay, let's have a look. Same menus really. Smart. See that doesn't it? Don't. WDR off, WDR on. Not quite sure what that does. But it did change how it looked at things. Let's have a look now. Oh, the rabbit's gone. This is the disadvantage of not having thermal. Well, let's just zoom in and see if we can get any sort of in, out, in. Again, especially with the Pro mounted to the side, it's quite difficult to get focus on 4K. Let's go to 14, that seems to be a reasonable, at least they're the same. Yeah, not sure if the WDR, whatever it does, I'll have to look that up and check. It was on the light and I'm not sure exactly how it functions. Okay. Whatever that lump is there. So there we go, that's just a quick side by side out the window. Turn that off and see what it. Again, I'd still have to give it definitely give it to the Alpex 4K, to be honest. It's definitely suffering with a smaller lens on the Pro. As far as I'm concerned, that's got to be the reason for it. I would say it's got a better sensor, better software, so that's a little disappointing, but we'll see how it works in practice in the real world.